This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis.
It's the Morning Majlis.
Hi everybody, good morning. Welcome back to the Morning Majlis, the show where we talk about stories shaping the headlines. It's me, Ahmed Dawood, with Abdul Karim Hanif and Rania Saadi, and let's just get to it. The United Arab Emirates has been more strict than ever about violators of COVID-19 precautionary measures, and that's because despite what the authorities have been doing their best, in fact, to ensure people's safety, we've seen a lot of gatherings, weddings as well, violating the safety precautions and are causing a spike in infections in the country. So we're going to talk about new measures imposed by authorities outlining just how many people you can have in a wedding or a gathering in order to abide by the COVID-19 protocols in the country. For instance, how many people you could have, and so much more as well. We're going to talk about what they've been doing with violators. And from around the world, we've got a story right out of Canada, a unique method of testing COVID-19, and that involves gargling.
Very interesting. I want to see how that works. Well, here from Sharjah Airport concluded the Summer at Sharjah Airport campaign, which was actually launched in July, and it continued until this month. And we'll talk about what this campaign is all about and its significance, how it increased awareness of the importance of protection against the COVID-19, and how it provides the highest standards of effective services and much more. But also we had from the Emirates an interactive business webinar that was organized by the US UAE Business Council in association with Shuruq. And it discussed the fast-growing business opportunities in education, advanced technology, and agriculture. Very important conversation that we will also delve into more closely.
We will be, and there's lots to discuss on the show so far, so do get involved on the text lines 4215. Later on, we're also going to be celebrating what's happening over in France. United Arab Emirates is set to make history by winning the Tour de France. Cycling milestone for the country, a very historic moment. We're adorned with the yellow jersey, and what we do know in Tour de France is that once you're going into the final stage wearing the yellow jersey, no one's allowed to overtake you, so they just let you win. Well,
Is that so?
That is so, yeah. It's the best situation. You just accept it and they go, you know what, just win it. It's okay, you've done well. But that is something to be celebrating as well. A shout out to all of our listeners, especially Rania's sister, who we got a chance to meet early this over the weekend, as we're celebrating not only her work anniversary, we're also celebrating her birthday, which falls tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning Majlis will be brightened up because of those celebrations.
Thank you so much.
So we are looking forward to lots to discuss here on the show. And get involved on the text lines 4215. Up next, we're talking about one big announcement that emerged on Friday. The restrictions and the limits to the number of people you're allowed if you are to host a wedding celebration. Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Pulse 95.
Yeah, join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Text lines are open 4215. An update that's emerged, or it did emerge over the weekend, because a lot of people did ask me, saying, do you know what the limit is to the number of people you're allowed? I always quoted the figure back in the days during the National Disinfection Program, which was about, when it started to ease, it was 6. Yeah. But then people started to take it easy, put their guard down, and get back to normalcy as they defined it and described it as. And then eventually we've seen a sudden spike in the number of cases, which also led to authorities also flexing their muscle, clamping down on these gatherings. Now there's a new limit.
Yeah. Well, 8 people have been jailed for organizing weddings in breach of strict protocols on public gatherings to prevent the spread of COVID. Now, the illegal celebrations took place at various locations across the country. Action was taken, as you said, Abdul Karim, was taken against wedding organizers as attending guests were not first-degree relatives as per allowances under new laws or new rules governing the staging of public events. Now, prosecutors said those attending had scant regard for protective measures to prevent the spread of coronavirus, with guests flouting face masks and social distancing rules as well. And yeah,
let's talk about that. Let's talk about the protocols they've set for weddings and other family occasions. Now, according to the UAE's health authorities, they said the first-degree attendees of both families should not exceed 10 people. They should also conduct a COVID-19 test 24 hours before the event. Furthermore, open buffets are not permitted. Single-use utensils and cups for eating and drinking, such as plastic ones, are recommended, while all surfaces and areas within the wedding halls should be sanitized frequently. Additionally, they said hand sanitizers should be widely available at any event you host. The ministry and the National Emergency Management Authority also stressed the importance of adhering to precautionary measures in these occasions and warned event organizers that wherever you are, events are being strictly monitored, and should there be any violations, you will be caught. The measures also include the ensuring of distancing of no less than 2 meters between people, monitoring of your symptoms, and avoiding attendance of the event in case you have any respiratory symptoms or fever as well.
Looking at what situations, what's happening, there were 2 incidents in Abu Dhabi. One incident took place in Ras Al Khaimah. And what they are saying is the gathering is going to be limited to 10 people, and it's only going to be first-degree relatives as per what is allowed in the new governing rulings when it comes to staging of public events. And looking at the definition of first-degree relatives is obviously the ones that are blood relative. It could be the people's parents, a full brother or sister, or a child, and even your spouse is considered a first-degree relative. I'm going through a Wikipedia page of this as well, and it says if a parent has an identical twin, then that aunt or uncle who's the other twin is also considered a first-degree relative.
The more you know.
Little interesting fact, because being genetically identical to the parent ultimately makes the child's parents as well. So genetically.
plus you won't know if this, like if for example, an authority, health authority, police, for example, comes in and he's like, "Who's this?" Like, "This is my mom." Right? She looks the same.
Yeah, I don't think we should be messing around with those situations.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah,
I'm just saying the resemblance.
Exactly.
Talk about the resemblance.
Well, the idea is follow the rulings that are in place, avoid any sort of potential challenge, and think, okay, you know what, I can get away with it, because if you try to get away with it, and then the fines are not cheap. They don't come cheap at all.
They start at 50,000. Well, they end at 50,000.
Yeah, 10,000 dirhams.
They start at 3,000, I think.
Yeah, 10,000 dirhams for the organizers, 5,000 dirhams for each participant. If you calculate it all, it's going to be a very expensive wedding. Well, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. What we'll talk now about is continuing the discussions about the coronavirus and COVID-19 situation. A new unique test has been launched or tested or even discovered in Canada, and it does not involve a laser or involve a nose swab either. What's happening? All this will be discussed right here on the Morning Majlis.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis, Pulse 95.
Well, one thing that many have been prone to is getting tested for COVID-19. And there are generally 2 kinds of tests that are available for COVID-19 testing: viral tests and antibody tests. And a viral test tells you if you have a current infection. This normally happens through the swab test or the PCR. Now, an antibody test, it might tell you if you had a past infection. And this happens normally through a blood test. But over in Canada, they have kind of a new way or a new method of testing.
Yeah, especially in line with the fact that the prospect of a nasal swab testing could be intimidating for some, especially children. Just having something shoved deep down into your nose is not the most pleasant of things to think about. Canada's doing something for those people who might be worried about that, particularly children, as most children in British Columbia are undertaking a new gargle method for coronavirus testing, and Canadian authorities in British Columbia are targeting students ages 4 to 19. And according to a provincial health officer, he said it's one of the first of its kind around the world. They're saying this new gargle test is just as accurate as tests using a nasal swab and have the perk of being a lot easier to target children with. This is a new saline gargle where you put a little bit of normal saline, said the health officer. So sterile water. You put it in your mouth, you swish it around a little bit, and then you spit it into a little tube, and that makes it a lot easier to collect from younger people.
I'd like to do that, to be honest.
Right?
Yeah, I've done the nasal swab, and it really isn't pleasant. The first time you do it, because you don't know what's happening, and the first time I did it, I was on camera, so I knew that I shouldn't react in a very strange way, which would be cringy for the rest of the report, or however long it remains uploaded for. So I weathered that and braved it. But then again, when I did it second time, it wasn't pleasant at all. And then the third time, it was even worse, because you kind of know what to expect. You know, you've put in your mind it's painful. And then when you're getting the swab test done, you're like, oh, God, this is horrible.
But some people say it depends on the nurse.
It does, really does. Actually does,
A lot of people say, oh, I didn't feel it. And some people say, it was so annoying. Yeah.
Imagine if you're working in the airport, you'd be doing it every other day.
Exactly.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And as well as the frontline workers, and sadly, that is a situation with us patients. It all depends on how patient we are when we're getting the tests done. But what they're saying is British Columbia public health officials say they compared test results in both children and adults and found the rate of COVID-19 detection was very similar between the nasal swab and the new gargle test. They're prioritizing children for the new test, but hope to expand it to adults in the coming weeks. The sample still has to be taken to a lab for processing, but does not need to be administered by a healthcare professional. So that is interesting to see that it's not going to be a little bit of a burden.
Yeah, it is, especially because in Canada, they said the 7-day average for new COVID-19 cases has climbed upwards to 849. They said the surge in coronavirus cases in the country is being driven by the under 40 segment as well. So in order to promote mass testing, you got to make the actual test a lot easier for people to administer and take. And that's the step they're taking over there as well. And hey, maybe one day we'll see such tests administered in other parts of the world as well. This would certainly encourage more people to get themselves tested if it's as easy as gargling some saline clean water.
Yeah, and earlier actually this month, researchers at a university here in the UAE have also found that saliva screening is as effective as nasal swabs when it comes to testing for COVID-19. Of course, this would reduce potential exposure of staff to the virus and minimize the amount of medical equipment used, and also it would definitely change the way people are screened and increase testing capacity, as a saliva sample could be self-administered without the help of medical staff. I wish this actually would be the actual method of testing, because a lot of people would actually go test even more without being scared of the swab test. If this would actually be rolled out in the UAE, because a study did find that testing for the virus using saliva is equally as accurate as the widely used PCR tests.
Yeah. Now, just a warning on that as well. Yes, it's probably a lot easier, but probably the reason we're not seeing widespread deployment of it around the world is, according to medical experts, even in British Columbia, they're saying easy testing is an attractive notion, but the test itself may not be up to standard. And experts say that saliva samples are inconsistent when compared to other sample types. So they said that it's all about finding the correct mix of tests and how they're best supplied, and also striking a balance between convenience and sensitivity. Meaning if most kids find nasal swabs to be intimidating to the extent where they're not getting themselves tested, then you look into other means of doing so. All about striking the balance, they say.
All about striking the balance, and in line with that, let's prepare for the world of sports news. We'll continue the discussions here on the Morning Majlis right after that, and there's going to be some musical entertainment before we come back. So stay tuned to Pulse 95. Send us your thoughts and messages on 4215.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Pulse 95.
So, big question of the day. If you found books worth millions in your attic, under your home, what would you do with them?
I'm sticking to my word. I'm going to sell them, but not all. Probably I'll keep, just so I can be fair here. Maybe I'll look through the genres or something and see if something, catches my interest. I'll keep, but yeah, I'll definitely sell like most of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would want to see the contents of those books, so I would find a way to scan them and upload them onto the public domain, so to speak. And then what I do with them afterwards is something I probably would want to think about some more, because if you have that much money, you'd want to do more research. How does the price change? What changes it? I'd probably hold on to them until I die.
Yeah.
I think that's what would happen.
It just becomes like a free-for-all big bad wolf book fair for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just have lots of choice for you to have a 24-hour non-stop little book purchasing thing that you can go with it. This story kind of reminds me of a little bit of like R.L. Stein's Goosebumps. You remember those books?
Oh, yeah.
That story, they used to be on massive on video as well, and TV shows. But yeah, an irreplaceable collection of about 200 irreplaceable books worth more than £2.5 million or $3.2 million were stolen from a warehouse in London and now have been found buried under the floor of a house in rural Romania.
Oh my God.
Yeah, those books, they were stolen from a warehouse in West London. It was something out of a Mission Impossible movie, this elaborate heist where the thieves back in January 2017 cut holes in the roof of a warehouse in Feltham and then snuck their way in and dodged the censors, taking 200 books worth more than £2.5 million. They include first editions of significant works by Galileo and Sir Isaac Newton as well. The investigation took 3 years and involved raids on 45 addresses across 3 countries, led to charges against 13 people as well.
Yeah, and they're saying these books are extremely valuable, but more importantly, they are irreplaceable and are of great importance to international cultural heritage. And those works were being stored in a warehouse ahead of being transported to a specialist book auction in Las Vegas in the U.S. when they were stolen. But what happened was the thieves cut through the roof of the warehouse in Feltham near Heathrow Airport and abseiled 12 meters to the ground, dodging movement sensors, and that is according to the AFP news agency.
Well,
that's how they did it.
Investigators saying it's a Romanian gang who did it. So they're part of the Clamparu crime group, a prominent Romanian crime family, and they fly their gang members to the UK to commit specific offences and then flies them out shortly afterwards. And then the different members of the group taking the stolen property out of the country for alternative transport methods.
So they've been there for 3 years?
Yeah.
Underground?
Well,
2017?
Yeah, the investigation's been ongoing for that, but now finally they've revealed and found where the books have been dumped. But in line with that, let's prepare ourselves for the business news, and we shall continue the discussions right after that. So lots of musical entertainment to look forward to here on the station. So stay tuned to Pulse 95.
Stay fit. Stay fit. Stay fit.
Emirates, UAE, cycling to glory. Big events, big jewel as well, and a new legend in the making as well, in the form of Tadej Pogačar, and he is going to be someone that everyone's going to be remembering, and it is the moment to celebrate. He is the man whose name will be remembered because he has had an incredible triple off the yellow jersey after yesterday's stage on the Tour de France.
Yeah, the 21-year-old Slovenian will lead the peloton into Paris today morning wearing the overall leader's yellow jersey, and barring any disasters, will climb onto the top step of the podium, winning the Tour de France. The youngster will also pull on his jersey as the best climber of the Tour, and he said following his latest outing, "My dream was just to take part. I could hear nothing on the final climb, and I went for it with everything." A great story here for Team Emirates.
Yeah, exactly. And he's saying he's now won it. It's unbelievable. It was just not me today. We needed the whole team for this accolade. I know every corner and knew exactly where to accelerate. Congratulations to my team. I was listening to my name on the radio in the first part, and then on the climb, I didn't hear anything in the front 5 kilometers because the fans were too loud. So I just went full gas from the bottom to the top. So let's realize this situation and experience it. And this is how it was broadcast live on the television.
France. Pogačar sprints his way over the top of this climb. He's given this the absolute fury of a man who wanted the yellow jersey. Pogačar reaches the finish line now, and now he can wait and see if he wins the Tour de France. The Tour de France is going to be won by Tadej Pogačar on the climb of La Planche de Belfi. You're watching a moment in history.
Incredible scenes. Incredible scenes. And as soon as he was told, he was in tears.
Dream of the Tour de France that he has managed all the way through to the final day as far as racing is concerned.
I still feel like I'm dead.
I think I'm dreaming. That's all. I really don't know what to say. Unbelievable.
It's not a dream. You've won it.
What a moment in history. 21-year-old winning Tour de France. Such a prestigious competition and an amazing feat for the young lad, and we're very, very proud of it. And the United Arab Emirates are going to be lifting that title. It makes things even more of a delight. Speaking of sports, we also had the big event that everyone was waiting for, the IPL.
Well, before the
off.
IPL, I want to talk about tennis because I love tennis.
Oh, you want to talk about tennis?
Yeah, let's talk about tennis.
A lot of big
Okay.
stories in sports.
Yeah, lots of big stories.
What happened in tennis then?
The Italian Open. Well, nobody beats Diego Schwartzman 10 times in a row. Not even Rafael Nadal. Schwartzman actually stunned 9-time Rome champion Nadal after 2 hours and 4 minutes on Saturday evening to reach the semifinals of the Italian Open. Now entering the match, Nadal had won all 9 of their ATP head-to-head meetings, including 22 of their 24 sets. And speaking on this, Schwartzman said, "For sure, it's my best match ever. I played a few times against the 3 big champions in tennis. I never beat them until today. I'm very, very happy."
What an incredible day as well.
Yeah.
Over in the IPL, they kicked off over in the nation's capital, Abu Dhabi. And it was Faf du Plessis who was amazing in the field, taking 3 catches and also a sparkling 50 to help Chennai Super Kings beat Mumbai Indians. So the runners-up of last year's season, winning the first game of the opening game of the IPL. It certainly is going to be a promising event. No fans. So weird to see that in IPL. So weird. And I mean, you can stand in international cricket, you can stand in test matches that we've seen. We've seen that in the T20s and ODIs that took place in England. You can sort of say, okay, you can bear with it. But IPL is such a fan-based sport competition. It's all about the fans, really. And to not have them is weird. But at least we have the game, at least we have the sports going on, and that's what's most important. It's just going to be televised entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. And also in football, everyone's talking about the new signing here. Tottenham re-signing the Wales forward Gareth Bale from Real Madrid. I think this is going to make the Premier League more exciting now. And certainly good for Bale, who's had a pretty tough time with Real Madrid.
It has, certainly. And going back to your own team is just incredible, which the team where you sort of rose to fame as well. So Gareth Bale, going back to it, is going to be interesting to see where it goes. But to get more analysis on that and join in a very sporty fashion, it is going to be with Omar Duri. Only place to be at 3 is what we call it as. Every Saturday, Monday, Wednesday is we can catch the halftime show.
Can you do this at it's the halftime show with Omar?
It's the halftime show with Omar Duri.
I love it. I love it. There you go, Omar. He's watching us probably or listening to us. So
fingers crossed.
This will probably make him happy.
Certainly should be catching us live as well. So you can also catch most of our shows live on YouTube. Or just search for Pulse 95 Radio, and you can catch the discussions. And we will be back again tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7 until 10 a.m. only on Pulse 95, 95.0. And if you've missed the audio discussions, you can catch them as a podcast.
Yeah, you can catch them on podcast, Apple Podcast, SoundCloud, or Spotify. Just type in Morning Majlis, or you can watch us on YouTube. Just type in Pulse 95 Radio on YouTube search bar and look for Morning Majlis episodes.
And thank you all for listening to today's show and texting us throughout the program. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned to Pulse 95.
Pulse 95. You're listening to Pulse 95. Pulse 95.
It's Pulse 95.